Hello, hello, JJ DiGeronimo here. You have visited us once again on Together We Seek. And as you know, all of us are seeking in different ways. And especially if you found us here, I'm assuming that your frequency is jiving with our frequency. And I'm super excited to have Graham Skidmore here today. Hi, Graham. How are you?
I'm doing very well. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, me too. And I love your story. I love the fact that you were in the executive ranks in corporate for so long. And, you kind of hit a point, a crossroads where you're like, this is not working for me. And you have done a lot since you have sort of left that corporate desk. And one of the things you talk a lot about is Earth's intelligent design. So tell us a little bit about what that means to you and why that called to you.
Yeah, so like Earth's going through a transition, and there's a variety of people that have all got their different roles and responsibilities and their contributions, guiding us through this. And so, explaining Earth's intelligent design is one of mine. And so, when I say intelligent design, at a high level, I simply mean that everything is purposeful and intentional and created to produce an outcome. Right? And so therefore there's the divine intelligent design, and then you have man-made intelligent designs, right? A school system is an intelligent design, right? It's purposeful and it's intentional with a designed outcome in mind. Driver's education, right, is another thing. And so the reason I talk about the intelligent design a lot is because there's a lot of challenges arise from the conflicts that occur between the divine intelligent design and the man-made intelligent designs. Right. And then a lot of people, especially in the spiritual paths, are like, okay, well, hey, I appreciate that I'm here to learn and Earth is a school and all, but I got this thing called rent. I got to pay for groceries. And so how does all this stuff merge and work together? And figure out how to navigate that is a real struggle. And so being able to apply and share the logic and the purpose so that people can figure out for themselves, hey, how do I best navigate this for me, my life goals, my learning, etc. Kind of like helping somebody to fish versus giving them a fish, right? And so that's always really important to me too, is to provide the wise and educate.
That's super interesting. And I feel like, we are all, well, many of us that have done some of the healing, there's always more healing to do, but in digging deep, following the whispers, I mean, we're still actively conscious in this human experience with people that may not have done the healing or, may not necessarily be on a similar path. And you talk a lot about the difference between being like a conscious being and
Yes.
and being of consciousness. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, tell me more. Like, what does that mean?
Oh, you're picking up on some good stuff. I appreciate this. So I think that and that to your point about the challenges, you're right. Think about like Earth right now. If you were thinking about school right now, we have all of the first graders go to school together, and then you even have first through sixth in some cases lumped together, seventh and eighth, high school, college. But here on Earth, you got first grade through college, all in the same classroom, and so that does create a lot of different challenges. And so when we think about what we're here to learn, how we are to be, there's one of the differences when it comes to consciousness is, when does consciousness hit? Right? Does consciousness hit after we're born? And that's when we start to become our being, and it's just a matter of, hey, who got lucky in the DNA lottery that determines what we got? Or is it that we were conscious beings ahead of time, and then we decided, we created our own living and learning adventure, chose our parents, chose, what parents would provide us, what opportunities for learning, etc. And then we, put on our human suit to go have a physical experience and to learn, right? And when when you are a conscious being, that means that you're learning what your intelligence, your wisdom, your gifts, your abilities starts after you're born. As a being of consciousness, well, that means you have a total self, a higher self, a soul, a conscious, whatever somebody, however somebody relates to that. That is an accumulation of the learnings that have occurred through all of your various lifetimes. And so if you want to think about, once we go through some of our learnings, right, the ability for all of us to tap back into our total selves, to tap into that greater set of knowledge is a huge distinguishing factor between, being a conscious being and a being of consciousness. And especially if you thought of it, are Are we meant to be beholden to hierarchical structures, or are we meant to have personal empowerment? Well, hierarchical structures definitely lead, are much more supportive of the conscious being, which, once I'm born, hey, and, now I need structure provided to me, versus a being of consciousness and being able to tap into my personal empowerment through my various gifts, wisdom, and abilities, which is kind of works counter to some of the hierarchical structures. And so, that's also an example of some of those rubs between the divine intelligent design and the man-made intelligent design.
Okay, I like this. Okay, so I love the idea that you may think this started way before you were born, and you being born is part of your highest divine awakening and development. And others might think when you are born, that's when your consciousness begins. And so I love that differentiator, because I'm working on my next book, and it's really about the 6 phases of personal awakening. And that there's so many of our gifts and wisdom that we haven't tapped into. And it's really through doing this and having these conversations weekly, I have seen through the stories that people are telling me, how they move through very specific phases to essentially illuminate their gifts.
Yes.
And so I would say that, I'm a big believer of being of consciousness, and that this human experience is helping us learn, evaluate, enhance, experience, but also remember and connect to the wisdom we came in with, even though it's not readily available to us out of the gate.
Yeah, I think that's an important point, right? Is that it may not, we are all here to, and to your point, you've got you call it the 6 phases of awakening. One of the things that I've packaged is the cycle of growth, restoration, and reclamation, right? Which is this focus on personal growth, the restoration of the genuine and authentic self, and then the reclamation of the connection to the higher self, right? To be able to tap into that while here. And we're all on different paths, and we're all, let me say this, where was I going with that? How we package it isn't nearly as important as understanding that we're all on a journey, and that the faster that we can figure out what resonates with us, the more enjoyable that journey becomes. And when we start to embrace the fact that we're on that learning journey, and that we created this learning game for ourselves. I know many times life doesn't feel like much of a game, but then the faster we can start to recognize when things are happening for us and not to us. And life is already challenging enough, and as faster we can start to recognize, okay, what these events are catalysts to help me grow, to help me to shed the false truths about myself that I've accepted, my masks, etc., to help me reconnect with that total self, to help me reconnect with those gifts and those abilities, and to continue to grow my consciousness. And that's really when life, when you start recognizing how the world's talking to you, that's really when life becomes much more fun and interesting and, mystical.
That's a beautiful thing. And I think it's a good reminder to many of us, especially going into the holiday season, not to take anything too seriously and into the new year, is that, asking yourself, well, why do I think this is happening? What am I supposed to learn from this? Why is this happening to me right now? Or what is the opportunity here? And I think if you really have to train yourself to think that way, because if you are an avid watcher of what is given to us on a platter, whether it's, shorts or TV or radio, they're constantly trying to make us feel as a victim to our circumstances. And so I think if you don't cross paths with people like yourself, sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, what is going on?
Yeah. And if you don't mind, I'll do a plug on on an aspect of the intelligent design to help people, provide them a lens to make sense of some of the circumstances that they may find themselves in. Right? And so when it comes to Earth and what people are here to learn through Earth, it's maintaining love through adversity. Right? Meaning that, so we're also meant to have power, personal empowerment, but just like we don't give somebody a car without having to go through driver's training, right? Because as much as that can be a vehicle for empowerment to have freedom, it can also cause harm to other people if not used properly, right? And so the same thing with spiritual gifts. And so therefore you need to have an environment to, train, make mistakes, so to speak, and go through that learning experience. And Earth's learning experience then, as part of how to maintain love through adversity, is understanding divine love, to have the courage to do what is right while gaining the wisdom to wield power in the highest good of others, or the highest good of all, through stewardship. And so in many cases, a lot of the things that we go through are to help us really understand divine love. And a lot of the aspect of divine love is loving ourselves. Right? And so when we think about, well, what would be the value of this trauma or this tragedy that I went through, Graham? Loving yourself, recognizing that you're worthy of love, that while you may have gone through and experienced certain things that, in some cases, these are events that people signed up for because they wanted to challenge themselves to gain a deeper understanding of love, or they wanted to understand that love, because remember, through stewardship. So I'm going to experience this so that I can have firsthand knowledge to help others through their healing and learning journeys as well. So there's a variety of reasons, right? It's not just a one size fits all thing, but understanding divine love of self and of others is one of the most common goals that pretty much everybody's sharing. And so that would be the first place that I would ask anybody to start with is, how can, they say, how can I love myself after this or after that? Now you're getting it. That's right. So now you need to focus on all of the reasons why you're worthy of love, all of the things that are wonderful about you, all of your strengths, all of the ability to the strength and the power to overcome adversity and challenges and not let circumstances define you. And just by being, you're worthy of love.
I feel so good, Graham. And I appreciate that, because even though I've been on this journey, similar to you, I started really diving in 16. I feel like I'm still working on that. I think self-love is a really hard thing to keep a hold of. I see glimpses of it. I have different situations where I really feel it, but I would say I'm still working to have it be my every moment state.
I think that's the biggest struggle it's one of the biggest struggles that's facing the planet, is that, and then the other part of it is then that leads to fear, right? When we don't love ourselves and we're not confident that we're actually going through everything through love, for love, to understand love and being loved by source, creator, universe, God, whatever somebody relates to, well, then that leads to a fear-based perspective, and nothing good comes from a fear-based perspective, right? It holds us back, it inhibits us. It causes us to doubt ourselves, to doubt our circumstances, to your point about being victimized, right? It makes us believe that we're a victim of our circumstances, and that all these things are happening to us versus happening for us as catalysts. And, we've got we have a planet full of people that are, I'm overgeneralizing there, right? That are hostages to their emotions. Right. And that's the next level is being able to, and you were talking about this with a guest in one of your more recent episodes, right? Which is how it's very common, because of either a fear base or the lack of love for self, to not want to sit in our emotions. Right. But when those emotions, though, is where the gold is. Those emotions is where the information lies. It's where the opportunity exists. Anyhow, but it's not as simple. But I know I would say maybe simple to understand, not easy to embody.
Yeah, I struggle with it still. I've loved, and I've been reading, and I've been reading stuff for decades. But I feel like things happen moment by moment, and different relationships bring out different aspects of you. And to really get into a space where you are content and you feel whole and you love yourself, regardless of what's happening outside of you, is challenging. It's challenging. I'm going through another level of it right now. And I feel like, oh my gosh, when am I ever going to master this? I don't know. But I feel like, I think creating that list and reading through it over and over, I think will definitely help, starting the day and ending the day with a list of all the things you love about yourself, all the things you're proud of. Even if you read 10 of them at a time, I think we have to create strategies that help us realize that, the outside is a mirror, which I know so well, but that doesn't mean that it's easy to reflect in times when there's high emotion.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. And especially when, you talk about TV and what's told to us, there's, at least here in Western culture, it's very, if something goes wrong, the belief is you made a mistake. You should have avoided it, right? Which is totally counterintuitive to everything I just talked about. Right. And so this is where that, again, those conflicts between the divine intelligent design and the man-made intelligent design, and how that causes, turmoil and chaos and unnecessary, trauma and pain to ourselves. Right. And so the first step is being able to recognize that the definition of success is not avoiding any sort of adversity, right? The definition of success is confidently knowing that you can handle adversity, not just handle adversity, but thrive through adversity, and that you're going to come out better on the other side, right? And that's where the only way to get to that spot is through reps. And the only way to have reps is to have experiences that didn't go as planned.
And you're saying reps, like repetition, where you're going.
Yes, repetitions, right.
So you're saying like keep going through it until one day, like I feel like I've been going through something, for a while now. And I feel like just recently, like in the last couple of weeks, I'm like, okay, I'm done with this lesson. Like, I feel like I just put a delineation, like this lesson is done for me. I do not want to emotionally experience that anymore. I don't need to do that. I'm done. So we'll see. I don't know. That was like my definitive answer. And now I'm going to see if I can actually hold to that.
Yeah. Well, and that's another important part is that, within the intelligent design, there's 3 phases of learning within each area, within each topic. Right? And the first one is understanding the knowledge, right? What am I supposed to learn? Why is this important to me? Then the second aspect of that, or the second tier of that, is establishing a working knowledge of that for yourself. And then the third phase is the embodiment of that. And so that's where when you talk about, okay, I learned this lesson, why do these things keep happening to me? Well, all right, well, you needed to be introduced to, we'll talk about loving ourselves, right? The concept of why I need to love myself. Okay, I can wrap my mind around that knowledge. I need to love myself. But what does that really mean? Okay, well, now I'm going to establish my working knowledge. And how do I love myself? Why I love myself? And that can then be the list of the 10 things that you could start in the morning and the nighttime, and you're working through it, and you're like, okay, I'm getting there, yeah. And then it becomes more natural, and that's the embodiment of it. And then once you get to that and you cross over that embodiment, you'll notice that the catalysts that were happening to you, that would cause you to challenge and question love for yourself, now start to disappear because you now embody that and you're ready to move on. And that learning is, as you've experienced many times, is that learning is much like peeling away layers of an onion. And we're given the layer of onion that we're able to handle, not beforehand, right? And so, it's kind of a never-ending learning journey.
Well, that's great, Graham. And I feel like the messages come to me when I'm ready for them. And like, this is why you're with me this week, because I realize that I'm ready for embodiment, and only I can decide when I'm ready for that onion, not my circumstances. And I think knowing that working knowledge, so acknowledging it, then having working knowledge of it, then embodying it, is a process. And for me, it is taking me a long time for this one particular situation. I feel like other ones I glide through, I've learned, I figured out. And so I don't know if anyone listening out there is like, oh, me too. I have to embody my knowledge in a way that allows me to move through a situation that keeps repeating itself. So tell us the work you're doing with people, because I love the fact that you have, put up your hat for your corporate life. You've moved fully into the spiritual space, which is amazing. I'd love to see your birth chart and where your Chiron is, and where your North Node, and how this has manifested for you. And the fact that we're just a state away is so exciting. But tell us about the work you're doing and like how people find you. Your links are below, but like what type of people are coming your way, and what are you helping them with?
Yeah, for the most part, I've been solitary, going through my own healing and experiences to be able to, help others. And I'm just now starting to get out talking about these things. So I very much appreciate you having me. And this is one of the first times I'm I'm starting to talk about, sharing knowledge regarding intelligent design and otherwise. So to your point about the synchronicity and timing, the blend that goes both ways. So I've kind of got 2 parts. I'm merging my spirituality and my business aspects. Like I mentioned, stewardship, right, is the means. And so it's one thing to talk about the intelligent design, but in order for Earth to reclaim that to have a prominent placement, we need tools, education, and systems that support that way of being. And so that's very much what I'm focused on. So there is a for-profit entity, which is called Harmony Health, which is, focused on, I guess, your traditional healthcare and healing modalities, but it's focused on helping the individual become the individual. And we plug into all kinds of healing modalities, coaches, traditional, non-traditional, and our focus is helping the person understand which modality is right for them and how to heal through various means. I'm sorry, I'm stumbling through this year as I know we're winding down. And then I've got where I'm providing all the education and tools, which is in my SaaS solutions. And that is about creating that human-centric focus, right? With AI and all of the tools, which are about empowering the human to be the best human as an individual, not to conform inside of a box. And then NGen is the nonprofit, which is consists of, we're starting in health and wellness, and then we're going to be in training and education, then employment and income opportunities, and social justices, and personal passions. And that is creating a community for people that want to kind of go all in and live within the intelligent design and just need a supportive space and a supportive community to help them go through this. So that's that's how I'm merging the spirituality and the business to create systems to create change by showing that there's a better way, right? I mean, I think we can all look around and agree that this can't be as good as it gets. But if we really want people to believe that things can be better, I don't need to yell and scream on a street corner. It's much more powerful for me to demonstrate it and show it. And so that's what my focus is.
That's so beautiful. And my friend Corby mentions, you can only teach and guide people through things you've been through. So the fact that you've been doing the work and now you're creating the infrastructure for others to move through the work is so powerful. And I think you'll find a lot of people on this show that, have all different disciplines, and most of them have gone through their own situations, experiences, crossroads that have allowed them to emerge into the gifts that they now help others with.
And that's so critical. I mean, there's a very big difference between somebody says, well, here's what you should do, and here's what I did do when I was going through that same thing. Right?
Yes.
And we've got, the world's full of people with theory. We need people that are embodying what exists out there.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
You bringing those people out of the woodwork and helping them to share their stories is so important.
Well, they're all the people that have helped me in my book, Seeking. I mean, I was seeking. I was, done with the corporate life like you. I'd worked in tech for 2 decades, and I just got to a point where I was like, this can't be all there is. There has to be more. And then, of course, things, started to crumble around me in different places, forcing me to go within. And I worked with over 100 energy practitioners, really just figuring out who I was, where my energy was sitting, and how I could work to take out what was no longer serving me to create space for more light and love. And this podcast emerged from that, of really sharing the people that have helped me with other people in the world, because I want people to have comfort in seeing that they're just like us. They're people that are paying their rent and worrying about their kids and, had a job and then were afraid to jump over and do this, something for full time. And I feel like a lot of us have the same story, and it's more common than not, but it's just once you have to find it, and once you find it, you can't unsee it.
Yeah. And it's common. Unfortunately, it's just not talked about in the mainstream. Which makes people feel like it's uncommon. That's right. I love that. That's right.
Not yet. Aquarius, Pluto's going to Aquarius, so let's see what happens. It's actually
you're right. I agree with you. It's coming. It's unavoidable.
It's unavoidable. Well, Graham, I look forward to staying in touch. I look forward to seeing this evolve for you, and I look forward to meeting you in person because we're so close in proximity, and I hope one day our paths bring us together in person.
Absolutely. That'd be wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes. Thank everyone for listening. I hope you have a wonderful week and a great start to 2026. See you soon.
Take care.